Shane van Gisbergen just did something no NASCAR driver has done before. He helped build the track he's about to race on, and it's located somewhere you'd never expect. So here's what happened. NASCAR is planning a huge race at the Naval Base Coronado in San Diego for June. This place is home to actual aircraft carriers, big ships, massive military operations. And now, NASCAR stock cars will be racing right through the middle of it all. But the coolest part? NASCAR asked their drivers to help design the track, and Shane van Gisbergen was right there in the mix, telling them what works and what doesn't. SVG isn't just some rookie who showed up to NASCAR yesterday. This guy won his very first Cup Series race ever at the Chicago Street Circuit in 2023. Then last year, he went to Mexico City for the first time and won again. 2 new tracks, 2 wins. That's not luck, that's talent. Now he's helping build the next new track, and if history repeats itself, we might see him in victory lane again in San Diego. This whole event is happening because the United States Navy is turning 250 years old. That's a quarter of a millennium. NASCAR wanted to do something special to celebrate. So they picked this military base and started planning a street race unlike anything we've ever seen before. The track is going to be 5.4 kilometers long. That's about 3.5 miles if you don't use the metric system. It has 16 corners, sharp turns, fast sections, bumpy roads, all the ingredients for exciting racing. But when NASCAR first drew up the plans, something was wrong. Really wrong. The pit entry was terrible, dangerous even. Drivers would have struggled to get into the pits safely at high speeds. That's where SVG came in. He jumped on NASCAR's simulator at their headquarters. This isn't like a video game you play at home. This is professional-grade equipment that feels exactly like driving the real thing. Van Gisbergen spent hours testing the layout. He drove lap after lap. He tested different lines through corners. He figured out where the brake markers needed to go. He checked if the curbs were placed correctly. And then he found the problem with the pit entry. SVG and the other drivers told NASCAR exactly what was wrong. They explained why it wouldn't work. They gave suggestions on how to fix it. Here's what makes this story so great. NASCAR actually listened. They didn't say thanks for the input and ignore it. They went back to the drawing board. They redesigned that whole section. They even added an extra corner to make it work better. Van Gisbergen talked about this on a show called Teardown Live. He said, "I drove it on the simulator. NASCAR has it at center, just trying to sort out curbing and brake markers and stuff like that, trying to help them." He kept going. "It's cool. I've driven a lot of tracks around the place, and how they first had the pit entry, it was really, really bad. We came up with some suggestions, they fixed it and put another corner in. But NASCAR does things differently." Van Gisbergen noticed this right away. He said, "The best thing is that they are open to drivers. It's really cool how they listen and implement. In other series, they tell you just to deal with it, and the results would be subpar." Think about what that means. NASCAR cares about making great racing. They care about safety. They care enough to ask the people who actually drive these cars at 200 miles per hour what they think. And then they make changes based on that feedback. SVG also compared the track to another famous circuit. He said it reminds him of Sebring. That's a bumpy, challenging track in Florida that's been around forever. It was originally an airfield, just like this San Diego circuit is using roads on a military base. Van Gisbergen described it like this. "It's kind of like Sebring a little bit, like an airfield and very bumpy, long straights and square corners. But don't worry about boring racing. SVG made it clear this track will have plenty of spots where drivers can pass each other," he said. "I think there are a lot of passing zones." Now here's where it gets really exciting. There's one corner on this track that sounds absolutely wild. It's either turn 4 or turn 5. Van Gisbergen wasn't completely sure which number it was. But he was sure about one thing. This corner is going to be insane. It's a fast right-hand turn. Really fast. The kind where you're pushing your car to the limit. But here's the catch. It's blind. You can't see all the way through the corner when you enter it. You have to trust your line and hope you got it right. And there's a wall on the outside. Not a soft barrier or a runoff area. A wall. If you mess up and go wide, you're hitting concrete. But wait, it gets better. On the other side of that wall is a lake. Actual water. Van Gisbergen loves this corner. He said, There's no room for error, and on the other side of the wall there is a lake and water. It's pretty cool. It's a big risk, big reward corner. Big risk, big reward. That's what racing is all about. Drivers will have to decide how brave they want to be. Push too hard and you might end up in the wall, maybe even in the water. But nail it perfectly, and you could gain huge time on your competitors. This is the kind of corner that separates the great drivers from the good ones. And knowing SVG's track record, he's probably going to be one of the drivers sending it flat out while everyone else lifts off the gas. After testing everything and giving all his feedback, Van Gisbergen gave his final opinion on the track. He said, "I think it's a really good track, good passing zones too." He wrapped it up by praising NASCAR again. The way NASCAR does things is really cool. Coming from a guy who raced in Australia for years and won 3 championships down there before moving to America, that means something. He's seen how different racing organizations operate. He knows what works and what doesn't. And he's genuinely impressed with how NASCAR handles things. It's scheduled for June 21st. That's right in the middle of summer. Hot weather, California sun, and all 3 of NASCAR's top series will be there. That means Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series, all racing on the same weekend, all on this brand new military-based street circuit. It's going to be a massive event. The military connection makes this even more special. The sailors and personnel stationed at Naval Base Coronado will get to see NASCAR racing right where they work. Imagine being on an aircraft carrier and looking over to see stock cars flying past at full speed. That's going to be an incredible sight. This is the first time NASCAR has ever raced on an active military base. Sure, they've raced at converted airfields before, but an actual working military installation with active operations? Never. This is history being made. And Shane van Gisbergen gets to say he helped design the track where this history happens. His fingerprints are all over this circuit, the corners he tested, the brake markers he suggested, the pit entry he helped fix. All of it will be part of NASCAR's first military base race. And this time, he has an extra advantage. He helped build the track. He knows every bump, every corner, every braking zone. He's already driven hundreds of laps on the simulator. While other drivers will be learning the track during practice, SVG will already be comfortable. The whole San Diego event shows how much NASCAR has grown. They're not just racing on the same oval tracks over and over anymore. They're going to street circuits. They're going to road courses. They're trying new things, and they're asking drivers to be part of the process. June 21st can't come fast enough. A military base, aircraft carriers, a blind corner with water on the other side, and Shane van Gisbergen hunting for his 3rd straight win at a new NASCAR venue. This is going to be incredible racing.